top story this evening. A Clearwater bar owner claims the Church of Scientology is spying on him. It all started when a friend gave him a VIP tour of a downtown penthouse being built for actor Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, it's been a pretty busy couple of weeks for the movie star. His relationship with Katie Holmes spawning 1,000 tabloid headlines.
Well, the high-stakes legal showdown between Tom Cruise and the publisher of Life and Style magazine is getting nasty. Cruise is suing the publisher for $50 million over a story claiming he abandoned daughter Suri after divorcing her mother, Katie Holmes.
Being one of the biggest movie stars in the world comes with problems. And Tom Cruise just might have himself a billion-dollar one. Yep, the actor has just reportedly been hit with a lawsuit by a writer who claims Tom's movie Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol was lifted from a script he wrote back in 1998.
Now to that major lawsuit involving Tom Cruise's latest movie. Family members are suing the producers after a plane crash killed 2 pilots.
Professionally about each other's
work. Listen, here's the thing, Peter.
Yeah.
You're stepping over a line now. You're stepping over a line. You know you are.
They call him Hollywood's last movie star, an action hero who defies gravity on screen and off. But Tom Cruise's life story is far more complex than a high-octane thriller. This documentary dives deeper, exploring the man behind the megastar. We'll travel back to a childhood marked by instability, from attending 15 schools in 14 years, a strained relationship with his bully father. We'll peel back the layers of his personal life, from high-profile romances and marriages to bitter divorces and ongoing legal battles. But the story doesn't end there. Cruise's unwavering commitment to Scientology and his efforts to scrub his image online, including the removal of unflattering YouTube video, raise questions about the power and influence this star truly wields. Get ready for a thrilling ride into the life and legend of Tom Cruise. Hollywood superstar Tom Cruise, known for his action hero persona and dazzling smile, had a childhood far from glamorous. Tom Cruise was born in 1962 in New York. His parents were both from Kentucky. They had a mix of English, German, and Irish ancestry, which is pretty cool, right? Tom grew up with 3 sisters. He even has a cousin, William Mapother, who's also an actor. You might have seen them together in a few movies. Now, Tom's childhood wasn't exactly easy. He grew up in difficult circumstances and was raised Catholic. He's actually spoken out about his father, describing him as someone who caused a lot of trouble and wasn't very nice. He even said his dad would bully him and his siblings. It sounds like a tough situation. Sadly, Tom's biological father passed away from cancer. Tom Cruise was constantly on the move. By the time he was 14, he'd already been to 15 different schools in 14 years. Part of his childhood was even spent in Canada. His dad got a job working with the Canadian military, so in late 1971, they all packed up and moved to Ottawa. That's where he went to Robert Hopkins Public School for a few years, from 4th to 5th grade. It was there, under a teacher named George Steinberg, that he first discovered acting. He even participated in a school play with some other boys. Things weren't always stable, though. By 6th grade, his parents were splitting up and his mom took him and his sisters back to the States. In 1978, she remarried. For a short while, Tom even thought about becoming a priest. He went to a seminary in Ohio with a scholarship, but it wasn't meant to be. After a year, he left the school. Some say it was because his family moved again. Others say there was a little trouble involving some forbidden drinks. Back in high school, he tried his hand at football, but that didn't quite work out either. He got cut from the team for breaking the rules. But hey, that just opened the door for something else. He ended up starring in the school play, Guys and Dolls, and in 1980, he graduated from high school in New Jersey. So you see, even though Tom Cruise's childhood was a whirlwind, it was also full of different experiences that might have shaped his path to becoming the star he is today. So, where does Tom Cruise call home? Well, he's a busy jet setter. Cruise splits his time between a few places. He's got a house in Beverly Hills for that California sunshine, a place in Clearwater, Florida to soak up some rays on the beach, and even owns property down in the south of England. Back in the day, when Cruise wasn't filming action movies, he was busy with his love life too. He dated actresses like Melissa Gilbert and Cher, just to name a few. Before we get to Tom's big Hollywood romances, he was actually married once before. Way back in 1987, he tied the knot with actress Mimi Rogers. Their thing wasn't meant to last, though, and they divorced a few years later in 1990. There's actually a bit of a twist to their story. Rogers was involved in Scientology, and that's how they met. She was his auditor, someone who helps people through Scientology practices. After their split, there were some rumors that Tom was thinking about becoming a monk, which supposedly affected their relationship. Those rumors turned out to be false, though, and things just didn't work out for them in the end. All right, let's talk about Tom's first big Hollywood romance. He met his second wife, actress Nicole Kidman, while filming the movie Days of Thunder in 1990. Sparks flew, and they got married that same year on Christmas Eve. They adopted 2 children together, Isabella and Connor. Sadly, things weren't meant to last, and they announced their separation in 2001. The official reason given was irreconcilable differences. There were also reports of a miscarriage early in their marriage, but Kidman later clarified that this wasn't quite right. She did experience a pregnancy complication at the beginning, but it wasn't a miscarriage. It sounds like a tough time for them both. After Nicole Kidman, Tom Cruise's next big relationship was with his co-star Penelope Cruz from Vanilla Sky. They dated for a few years, but called it quits in 2004. Things get a little complicated here, though. A magazine article later claimed Scientology leaders tried to find Cruz a new girlfriend after the breakup. The article said they even set up auditions with other Scientologist actresses. Now, both Cruz and Scientology denied this whole story, calling it bad journalism and religious bias. It's a he said, she said situation, but another director who used to be in Scientology backed up the magazine's story. So, the truth? Who knows for sure? All right, so we left off with Tom Cruise in 2004. Fast forward to the next year and things get whirlwindy. In April 2005, Cruise started dating actress Katie Holmes. The media went nuts for them, even giving them a couple nickname Tomcat. A month later, Cruise took things to a whole new level. He appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show and, get this, jumped on her couch to declare his love for Holmes. Talk about a grand gesture. And the love fest continued. A few months later, they announced they were expecting a baby. Their daughter Suri arrived in April 2006. It all happened very quickly. Okay, so remember Tom and Katie, aka Tomcat? Things moved fast with them. After their whirlwind romance and baby news, they tied the knot in a fancy Italian castle ceremony in November 2005. It was a big Hollywood event with lots of stars and a Scientologist ceremony. There were even rumors the church itself had a hand in setting them up. Scientology leader David Miscavige was even Cruise's best man. Unfortunately, happily ever after wasn't in the cards. Fast forward to 2012, and Katie Holmes filed for divorce. Their settlement was kept private under New York law, so no one knows the exact details. However, Cruise later claimed Katie wanted out in part to shield their daughter Suri from Scientology. Suri reportedly isn't involved in the church anymore either. Tom Cruise isn't afraid to stand up for himself, especially when it comes to his privacy. Back in 1998, he took legal action against a British tabloid that claimed his marriage to Nicole Kidman was a fake to hide his homosexuality. He won that case. Then, in 2001, things got even crazier. A gay porn actor said they had an affair, but Cruise denied it completely. The actor eventually admitted he made it all up and ended up owing Cruise a whopping $10 million. So yeah, don't mess with Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise isn't afraid to go to court to protect his reputation. Remember that crazy story about a publisher claiming to have a video that outed him? Yeah, Cruise sued that guy for a cool $100 million. The case ended with the publisher admitting the video didn't exist and that Cruise was straight. Cruise also had to take legal action to get control of his own domain name, TomCruise.com. Someone was squatting on it and redirecting visitors elsewhere. Thankfully, an intellectual property group stepped in and gave the domain back to its rightful owner, Tom Cruise. Lawsuits seem to follow Tom Cruise sometimes. In 2009, a magazine editor accused him of wiretapping his phone, but that case got tossed out of court because too much time had passed. Then, in 2012, Cruise sued a couple of magazines for claiming he abandoned his daughter Suri. Things got interesting during the lawsuit. Cruise admitted he hadn't seen Suri in a while, but they eventually settled things out of court. All right, let's talk about Scientology and Tom Cruise. His first wife, Mimi Rogers, actually introduced him to the Church of Scientology back in 1986. He became a big advocate for Scientology in the 2000s, even though the media found out about his involvement way back in 1990. Cruise has always been open about his belief that Scientology, especially a program called Study Tech, helped him with his dyslexia. He's also been tight with Scientology leader David Miscavige for decades. It's definitely a big part of his life. Things got a little weird with Scientology for Tom Cruise a few years in. Apparently, the church leaders promised to show him some super secret stuff, including info about this alien space lord named Xenu. According to a book about Scientology, Cruise freaked out after hearing this and took a break from the church to film a movie. A few years later, a high-ranking Scientology dude convinced Cruise to come back and finish his Scientology studies. Then, in the 2000s, Cruise became a very vocal advocate for Scientology, which caused some serious controversy. After 9/11, Tom Cruise actually co-founded a charity to help rescue workers in New York. Their approach was a little out there, though. They offered a special treatment based on Scientology principles. This rubbed medical professionals and firefighters the wrong way. In fact, Cruise even got an award from Scientology for his charity work. There have also been rumors that Cruise tried to get some other big celebrities involved in Scientology, like Will Smith and Steven Spielberg. Since then, Cruise has shut down talk of Scientology in most interviews. It's a pretty private thing for him now. Cruise wasn't just promoting Scientology to celebrities. He was also very public about advocating for it to be recognized as a religion in Europe. This rubbed some people the wrong way. In France, for example, Cruise lobbied some government officials to see things his way. The French government wasn't having it, though. They called him out for being too forceful about Scientology and shut down any future talks with him. Ouch! Remember back in 2004? Tom Cruise caused a stir when he said psychiatry should be banned altogether. That wasn't his only controversial statement that year. In 2005, he criticized actress Brooke Shields for taking medication to deal with postpartum depression after having a baby. Cruise basically said there wasn't a chemical reason for depression and that meds weren't the answer. Shields fired back, saying Cruise should focus on fighting aliens in movies and let moms decide what works for them. Things got pretty heated between Cruise and a talk show host named Matt Lauer on TV, too. It was a whole thing. Cruise's comments about psychiatry didn't go over well with medical professionals. They worried it made people with mental illness even less likely to seek help. One doctor even said in a famous medical journal that Cruise might be right about some meds being overused, but that completely dismissing medication wasn't helpful. Actresses like Brooke Shields also slammed Cruise, saying his comments were a blow to moms struggling with depression. Eventually, Cruise apologized to Shields for his remarks. Seems like he learned a lesson about the power of his words. See, Scientology and psychiatry don't exactly see eye to eye. Scientology is against mainstream psychiatry and medication for mental health. This actually caused a bit of a bump in the road between Tom Cruise and director Steven Spielberg. The story goes that Spielberg mentioned a doctor friend who prescribes medication in front of Cruise. Next thing Spielberg knows, protesters from Scientology are picketing the doctor's office. Needless to say, Spielberg wasn't too happy about that. It seems like Cruise's strong stance against psychiatry may have affected his relationship with some people. Remember that whole anonymous group that took the internet by storm years ago? Well, they tangled with Tom Cruise and Scientology in 2008. Anonymous leaked a video interview with Cruise where he talked about being a Scientologist. The Church of Scientology said the video was stolen and edited, but Anonymous stuck to their guns. YouTube took the video down at first, fearing a lawsuit, but then put it back up. As of today, millions of people have seen that video. Things got a little messy for Tom Cruise around 2004. His publicist of 14 years quit, and guess who took over? His sister, who is also a Scientologist. It seems like Tom was trying to keep things in the family, but that only lasted a few months. He eventually hired a new publicist from a big shot firm. All this shuffling seemed like an attempt to control the buzz around Scientology and his new relationship with Katie Holmes. It was a crazy time. Things got even more complicated for Tom Cruise in 2013. A book and documentary called Going Clear came out, and it lifted the lid on Scientology and Cruise's involvement. The book claimed Scientology picked out girlfriends for him and that he used free labor from church members. Yikes. The documentary even included an accusation from a former Scientology auditor that Cruise had his ex-wife Nicole Kidman spied on, although Cruise's rep says that's totally false. One of Cruise's ex-girlfriends even compared the way Scientology supposedly set him up with dates to human trafficking. It was a whole other level of controversy. Tom Cruise, a megastar, a controversial figure, a devoted Scientologist, a relentless advocate for his craft. This documentary has only scratched the surface of the man behind the impossible stunts and the million-dollar smile. Is he a Hollywood hero or a Hollywood enigma? The answer perhaps lies somewhere in between, but one thing is undeniable. Tom Cruise's story is far from over. What audacious feat will he attempt next? How will his legacy continue to evolve? We invite you to keep watching, keep debating, and keep dreaming alongside Tom Cruise, the ultimate movie star.